Welcome back, everyone. I'm your host, Leah Massey, and today I'm excited to be joined by my guest, Shimira Williams. Shimira, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
To start things off, can you tell us a little bit about your background and how did you get into working with real estate professionals?
So, my background is in business economics and management information systems.
Mhm,
I love a good spreadsheet, but
mhm,
I also love economic development. So, I was fascinated as a child with a blueprint being a real building, right? To be able to see the original sketch be like, oh, a live existing building that I could walk in and use. And as a kid, I didn't know what that meant. I thought I wanted to be an architect. And then I thought, oh no, I want to be an architectural engineer. And then I realized I didn't want to be any of those things. I kind of just wanted to do the spreadsheet and think about the money and braiding those things together. And so I love a good spreadsheet. And that is how I actually got into real estate was one of my parents owned a business that was a painting company. And
Okay.
they always were doing estimates, which it was great to do by hand, but at that point computers were coming along.
Mhm.
And I can remember him taking a estimating class at CCAC to like get this little CD-ROM and come in,
Mhm.
and I was totally fascinated by that as a kid because once again I thought, oh, a blueprint that turned into like a real thing because I could go with him to see the painting at the end. So it was really cool. But I would help with the spreadsheet part, right? Like,
Mhm.
oh, once we got the numbers in, it'd be like, well, this is the amount of area, and this is
Yeah.
like, oh, the math. Obviously, I'm a math geek. So like that's how I got into working with real estate people was I could see the gap that people who were great at maybe the trades
Mhm.
were not so much great at the paperwork side.
Mhm.
So I wanted to be able to help them with the paperwork side. And as buildings and homes came about, it switched from the painter to the real estate agent or the developer or someone like that so that I can still help them think about building the building
Yeah.
while somebody else manages the crosses the T's and dots the I's on the inventory and expenses and paperwork and how does all of that coordinate to the end result of we have a functioning building that we're going to actually make money on, even if it's a one-time money transaction, meaning, hey, I made money because of the sale, or hey, we're going to make money because we own and manage the building that we are selling.
Yeah. And just one thing, that's awesome that you were so young and kinda knew what you wanted to do, you know? A lot of us don't learn that until we're, like, way older, so that's good that you kinda had that, and that's what the area you're going into right now working in. And, yeah, and you are right, definitely a lot of times we as, in the real estate field, the paperwork, managing the paperwork, so that's what we're gonna talk about today a little bit, so that's kinda where this is going. So what problem frustrated you enough to build a solution around it?
So I then, as a young adult, worked at a real estate development company.
Mhm.
And once again, we're back to all the beautiful people in the trades, and they are great. You're a great floorer or a great painter or a
Mhm.
great drywaller, but your paperwork is holding up the draw request that we need to send to the bank.
Mhm.
And the bank is like, hey, we need Bob's such and such document. And Bob's like, oh, well, I just wrote you an invoice
Yeah.
on a piece of paper because that's what I've always done, or I've made you a Word document that's an invoice, or even an Excel spreadsheet that's an invoice, but you've now moved up to the next level and they're like, oh, we have a CRM. You need to put it in. Nowadays, we call it the portal,
Mhm.
but or the CRM, right? And the person was like, that's just not my thing, right? Nor do I have the staff person to be able to do this.
Right.
And so I was like, this is project based work
Mhm.
because you're not going to be here all the time, right? Once this building or house is done, the contractor moves on to the next contract. And
Right.
if they don't need the same CRM, I don't need the CRM
Right.
solution, right? And so you needed a middleman,
Mhm.
right? That maybe you just hold the CRM solution. And if I have enough different contractors, I've reduced their costs because
Right.
they're not paying for the CRM. I'm paying for the CRM and they're just paying me to manage their data or their project through the CRM that they need to utilize to get invoicing done
Mhm.
or submit their participation.
Now, when you mentioned CRM, I know many brokerages we have a CRM system. But for those viewers who don't know what that is, can you kind of explain a little bit what a CRM is?
So, a CRM is known as a customer relationship manager.
Mhm.
It's software that every industry at this point utilizes to capture their data. So it always starts with putting a contact in. You got to start with putting the first person you
Mm,
met in there, and you fill that with your initial data point. And then after that, usually does things like manage your email, send you reports. You can create a dashboard so that instead of every week you kind of filter out and think about what data do I need to make my decisions, a dashboard will allow you to customize it so that every day when you go in, it's automatically giving you those data points, right? So,
mhm,
hey, you need your comps. Every day, it's pulling data from wherever your data source is. Typically, it is multiple data sources, so it can go out to the web and pull data from public spaces so that you're not doing it. It does all that back end work
mhm,
and allows you to build a dashboard or automation so that you're not doing all the heavy lifting, all those repetitive tasks
mhm,
that you're like, oh, well, I got a new contact. Now I need to send them an email. And then I need to log the email or the phone call. Well, it does that for you.
mhm,
It's going to provide you a log of, hey, I called Bob last Tuesday. I don't necessarily need to call him today, but in 3 days, send me a reminder to give Bob a call to follow up on the thing we talked about when we met at the coffee shop
mhm,
when I was getting coffee and I just randomly met him, right? So, hey, I randomly met Bob at the coffee shop. He gave me his card. He wants to talk about buying a house because he's new to the neighborhood. And I put his information in the CRM and I need to follow up with Bob in the next 10 days. So I've given myself a reminder to send him an email or give him a phone call, whatever my preferred method is. And so a CRM just allows you to put all your reminders in and log the actual items you did. So over time,
mhm.
it builds historical data so that you can do forecasting or watch the trends that you have.
Okay. Now, what's happening in the industry that makes your service especially relevant right now?
I would like to say that would be AI,
Mhm,
right? So AI is coming and people are optimizing the data inside of their CRMs, right?
mhm,
Because AI really is about taking a large amount of data and using it to learn how to do something in the future by itself or without as much human
mhm.
input necessary. So it kind of predicts what you would need, right?
Right.
So your MLS,
Mhm,
right?
mhm,
It would be able to gather that information and give you some forecasting,
mhm,
right? If you weren't already optimizing your CRM, it's already building in AI. And so now it's how do I use our tech support and the CRM to optimize the data that I need so I can be making decisions faster and more accurately with the data that I already have.
yeah. And there is so much, and that's what I like with you, like, because like I said, even though our brokerages have that system, and
Mhm,
we have so many systems, and we do have the technical support, so we have a excellent, training and information on that. But still, life happens and people are moving. There's a lot happening, and so we just kind of get lost in all this stuff. And so it's nice to have someone like you to kind of explain it and kind of bring it out, so we can know what we're dealing with. And also for those people like contractors or like people that don't have a brokerage to back them up with
mhm.
different things, they need a system. So that's what we're here to talk about too. So, what's the most common pain point your clients come to you with? So when you have somebody who doesn't have a system, what's some of the pain points that they?
Actually, it's usually the person who does have a system
Oh, okay.
and hasn't transitioned all of their information into the system. It's
Mhm.
like, hey, I've had spreadsheets and I got great folders and I know what my process is, but I haven't put it in the CRM yet. And so they start to think about the data and then they need to clean it. And so it's the data migration that's usually their pain point, because even once you get it in the system, it's now, how do I get the system to do the things that I need it to do, right? How do I get it to automate my email? How do I get it to build that dashboard? How do I get it to do what I need it to do,
Right.
right? And so I don't have time to call tech support all the time,
Mhm.
and I don't definitely have time to muddle through settings, and I probably am not going to watch the video in the learning system that the software people already developed. So I need somebody to just simply take sit down, have a conversation with me and say, "Oh, that's your process. This is your system. Here's how your system can work for you." Right?
Yeah.
And so our biggest pain point that we usually find is data migration. And once we help somebody migrate in, during the migration, we're usually learning all your settings and features. And so that's when people are like, "Oh, okay, so now that you've migrated our data, can you give us a data strategy, right? Of
Right.
how can we better optimize our data, or can you set up our data reporting or build us a dashboard now that the data's in there, right? Because getting the data in is one step.
Right.
Getting people to use the data is the next pain point we see,
Right.
because everybody wants the data or the information out of the CRM, but most of the time it's changing your habit to utilize the CRM.
Mhm. And how are you working with people to do that?
That is a lot of training.
Mhm.
And I will say one thing that we really recommend when people bring us on is, how much training time have you allocated for your staff, and how much training funds have you allocated for your staff? You're not going to buy a CRM, input the data, and it's going to automatically start giving you great information, because the human is still the most important part. If nobody inputs the data, it's beautiful, but
Mhm.
it's not useful, right?
Right.
If nobody is making sure that the reports are coming out and they're accurate, then the data is not useful for you to make decisions. And so, how we do that is we automatically build training into our services, so that we are meeting with your team either weekly or bi weekly to go over, how do we help this work for you.
Mhm.
We also know that we need an office champion, because we're not always there. So there is one person typically that we ask to be our like team liaison,
Mhm.
to say we want to transfer all our knowledge that we could possibly transfer to you, so that you can be a support for your team.
Mhm.
You need a champion when you're transitioning into a CRM, because it needs to be that person that reminds everybody, "Hey, we now put our contacts into the CRM.
Mhm.
Hey, who's making sure that we got the weekly report? Hey, who's making sure that the data is actually cleaned and that we're using it?" Otherwise, you get into I call it the honeymoon period,
Mhm.
right? "Oh, we have this new shiny tech and it's going to be great. We've spent money on it and we've
Mhm.
been in meetings and we have a process, and yay." And for 2 weeks, everybody is putting their data in.
Uh-huh.
Scan your business card, put it in. Everybody's doing it. And then one glitch happens. And then everybody's like, "Oh, no, it doesn't work because we had to pause for one
Yeah.
thing." And then you're done using it, because that one thing created, I wouldn't say fear, but that barrier of, when you learn something new with anything, though, the first time you've learned to ride your bike, when you fell on your knee, if it scraped too hard, you were like, "You know what? I might not want to learn how to ride a bike right
Right.
now," right? And you need that encouragement to keep going. And so the same thing happens with a CRM, right? The first time it gets a little glitch, your email didn't go out right. I thought it got sent. You kind of freeze.
Right.
And so that's why we're there, so that you can call us and say, "Oh, you know what? There was a little glitch. Hey, we just needed, you didn't hit that one button. Let's go back and just work through it." Or, "Hey, can I make you a new video?" Right? An, maybe a 30-minute video is too long and too in depth. All you needed was a high level 5 step. a 30-second video, right? And I gave you a 35-minute video so that you knew every little step. And you was like, I zoomed through and
Yeah.
I got the point, but I forgot that one little nuance. And with technology, it's always that one little nuance. You didn't click the right button.
Right.
You didn't put the one little field in, or I didn't check this field on the spreadsheet or in the profile, and it didn't do the next step that I thought it should do.
Yeah. And that's why I like too, with your company too, that you guys kind of help where you, when you first meet with your client and stuff, you kind of set the stage on what exactly they're looking for. Because a lot of times, like you said, they may come with their own system and maybe they purchased something or did something that they really don't need. So I think for those people, since for myself too, technology a lot of times is just like, oh my goodness, you really have to use your brain to really think about stuff. So how does one, what step do they take first? Like how do they, like what do you guys take first as far as knowing what they need? Like what's the best way to tackle it to get the best buck for the bag?
The first question we always ask is, what triggers you to use your CRM,
Okay.
right? Because your CRM is for multiple things, but what's the first reason that someone is actually going to log in? Yes, it should be, I got a new contact and I'm going to put them in. But that's typically not why somebody is using the CRM. Either somebody else told them they have to,
Hmm.
right? And so I went in because you said we need to send the email through the CRM so it logs everything, right? That is one approach to go to it, but that also makes people also start to feel surveilled
Hmm.
sometimes. So it's kind of like, how do we help you think about it in another way to say, what can we help? What can the CRM help you do? What's that one task that you dread doing? Mine's is sending the email that says, you owe us money, right? And it's everybody,
Yeah.
everybody who owns a business wants to do their service, send you the invoice, and you simply pay it, and nothing else needs to happen. That's not the reality of running a business. And the first time you have to send that email, you're like, well, what do I really say? How do I, but I need to be firm, but I need to do this.
Mhm.
And then you get one good one, and you're like, oh, favorite question is, what's the template that you love? Everybody has a template at their job that they love. They might not tell everybody in the office
Mhm.
about it, but there is that one templated file or email that they always go to. It's their go-to thing. And my question is, how do we get that into your CRM's process?
Mhm. Okay. So seeing kind of what they're comfortable with and what their even their purpose, what they're trying to do. That's
What they're trying to do, but what's something they've already figured out as a pain,
okay.
right? So, hey, I have an email that every time I meet somebody, I send this email,
Mhm.
correct? But you still have to put their email address in your regular email account, and then you're like, oh, I got to put it in my contacts if you're using like a Google account, right? So you have to put it in two spaces already to get it to be a standard contact.
Oh, okay.
If you use your CRM, you're only actually putting the contact in once. And now I've told you that you can automate the email because you already have it templated. So now I just want to say, hey, instead of you doing 3 steps, I have it so you could do 2 steps. And then there's a log so it could tell you at the end of the week, hey, you've been following up with Bob and Sally every week. Or it could say, like, hey, I'm good at even getting the person to get my initial email, but I always forget to follow up in 8 days
Right.
or whatever my buffer time is. So, my thing for you is going to be, well, we got you to use your contact and put it in. You already have a template
Mhm.
and you have a CRM. How about if we shift you to your CRM where all you have to do now is put in your contact, we've automated your email, and then it sets up a task for you to follow up with them in 8 days, which is much different than, oh, well, let me get you in the
Yeah.
CRM. It's, oh, hey, that CRM can actually help you with your real pain point because you're already doing so many things well. You just keep forgetting to do your follow up call. Hey, it's going to send you a reminder a day before so that you could at least have that built-in reminder. It might even send an email to the other person for you as a reminder, but it's helping you with your follow-up. So if follow-up is your fall through, how do we help the CRM follow up for you?
And what do you think that what mistakes do you see professionals make before working with you, before coming with you? What do you think that you're seeing the mistakes?
Dirty data and their data migration,
Okay.
right? So I got this new CRM because maybe it's the industry standard and I
Right.
want to move over to the industry standard. I may have a new contract coming in and I simply want to make sure that I'm aligned with all of our partners. And so I've now optioned to get the software. And I just threw my data inside of the CRM because I felt like I knew what it was going to do. And then you're like, oh, that's not the field it should have gone into to automate it to do what I needed to do. I needed the address to be like this, or I should have had the zip code like this, or I really needed another field in order for it to act as a trigger or a sort field. So, not actually having your data analyzed before you migrate it,
Mm.
or not having it cleaned before you migrate
Can you
it.
explain a little bit what that is?
So your data being cleaned is making sure that it's all in its proper formats,
Mhm.
right? If you're going to put an address in, have you set all of the addresses to be street name and address, then city, then state, then zip code? Because your CRM maps to street, city,
Mhm.
state, zip code versus it was all in one line on your spreadsheet, right? It was a full address and you didn't break it down. So you put the full address in your CRM, but now when you want to run a query by zip code, there's nothing in the zip code field because everything went in the address field because it would take text data,
Mhm.
right? And that is all text data to it versus the zip code field only takes numbers, right? So you can run a query on a zip code field in a different way than you would run it on the full address field.
Mhm.
Because in the full address field, the numbers for the address and the numbers for the zip code get thought about when you say search for.
Yeah.
So if I said search for an address containing 152, well, if their street address is 152 Wood Street in zip code 15208, well, 152 is going to still show up in your search when you really probably wanted the zip code 15223,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
So, like, how do you make sure your data is clean so that I can search the zip code field and it just knows that all I'm doing is restricting it to look at just that field. And all, if I put in 152, it's going to give me all the zip codes with 152, not an address.
Right. And then from just talking, I would be like, some people are just like, because a lot of people aren't computer savvy, and they're like, this is so overwhelming.
Yes.
Oh my, just easier to write it on paper. But then I think about, like, for your business, when you're doing taxes and you're doing different things, it's nice to have all that spreadsheet and everything in order. So for those who aren't tech savvy,
Mhm.
how do you usually handle those clients? What would you suggest?
So, my non tech savvy friends, we
Mhm.
start with paper.
Okay.
And I try to show you how we transform your paper into technology
Mhm.
so that we can not overwhelm you,
Mhm.
but let you see that there are options for you. And I start with what technology you can use. At one point in the world, a pencil was technology, right? Everybody was like, oh my goodness, you could erase now? You don't need a pen. It's not like permanent. There's an erase feature. We've always dealt with technology.
Mhm.
The microwave, the cell phone is just now the latest thing. And now the cell phone is so common, it's AI, right?
Yeah.
So there's always going to be something. It's really a fear reduction and how can we talk about what you're already good at?
Mhm.
Because everyone uses a technology that they're already good at that they can optimize for their business. Maybe you're great with your cell phone, but you are terrible about a spreadsheet. So I would say, hey, you were great at putting your, holding your receipts. You got a whole bag of receipts.
Mhm.
If I can get you to just sit and take a picture of them and then email the picture or upload the picture to a Google Drive, I can automate it from there. So to say that every time a new picture is added to the Google Drive, add it to a spreadsheet, right? So at the end of the year, your tax person at least has a list and you can just go in and say, these are the receipts for this or label them, right? So
Mhm.
I don't need you to look at the spreadsheet. I just need you to be able to take the picture of the receipt
Mhm.
and either email it to somewhere, upload it, or text it. I've built it so that somebody could have a text phone number, and every time that phone number got a text message, so their goal, they could send a text, right? So
Mhm.
they weren't tech savvy, like a computer, they were like, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
Don't give me a laptop. I
Yeah.
would like my cell phone is enough. I'm overwhelmed by this concept.
Yeah.
They were like, I have figured out texting. So I said,
Mhm.
well, can you text a picture? And they
Mhm.
said yes. Said, great. We'll set up an automation where we give you a phone number, you text that phone number. In the text, like the
Mhm.
the actual text that you write,
Yeah.
put what it is and send the picture. So in the automation in the background, it every time that phone number gets a text message with a picture, it puts the text information in one column and then it links the picture to it in another column.
Oh.
So that person never sees the spreadsheet. I see the spreadsheet, but they can text in all the receipts while they're in the field. And so at the end of the year, their accountant gets a list of the stuff, right? It's not beautiful, but
Mhm.
over time, we make it beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay. We see that every time that you put in this um, receipt, you write Home Depot paint
Mhm.
2 gallons, right?
Right.
Well, now I've got a trend inside of the spreadsheet. So I can filter out for Home Depot or 2 gallons, right? And I can now extract that data out and say, hey, we worked on this project every time we bought, or this is how much the average cost of a 2 gallon paint is.
Mhm.
So I know what my costs are going forward, right? I
Right.
know how much I spend on paint because I got the receipts for the last 2 years on a spreadsheet, even though they're just a picture from my Home Depot account. I
Yeah.
can now filter that. And now, when I'm trying to forecast how much is it going to cost me to do a paint job, how much does a 2 gallon bucket of paint cost me, and how much do I use it on an average project, I can now use that for forecasting, right? So I took my old low tech option and transformed it into data and then I transformed that data into information that I could use to forecast future information.
And just from that example
Hmm.
that you gave, someone that maybe that, writing down or that, and they might be like, well, okay, I do that because that's new, but what is that really going to do for me? Like, why is that something that's more beneficial than maybe what I'm doing?
Well, now that you have a spreadsheet, you can send that spreadsheet to your accountant every month
Mm-hmm.
versus waiting till it's tax time to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You can use that spreadsheet now because you're actually putting in the data at one time to give yourself a query and a filter of, hey, I'm spending this much at Home Depot at the end of the month, right? Because I can quickly go and look at that information versus I spent 45 minutes going through all my receipts in my car to see how much money that I spent because you didn't have to hand calculate it.
Mm-hmm.
But once you uploaded it as a picture, it can scan the picture and extract the data from the spreadsheet, from the receipt onto the spreadsheet too, right? So now you're getting all your data points in one centralized location and you can share that information, right? Whether it's with your administrative staff, your accountant, your project person, right? To
Mm-hmm.
say, hey, I actually can get you those receipts pretty fast.
Mm-hmm.
I know where they're at because when I sent that text message and they linked it to that spreadsheet, it's saved in our file folder,
Mhm.
right? So now I'm not looking for it. Don't need to scan them to give them to you. They're all in one location. Whether you are the person, you are my accountant,
Mhm.
that I need to send it to you to do our accounts receivable and our accounts payable, whether I need to submit it to someone to get reimbursed,
Mhm.
or whether I just need our team to use it to forecast information. So I took my receipt, which was one data point that is very crucial, and I took it from being just a piece of paper to being something that's digital that I can share across multiple partners at one time period without doing extra work. Matter of fact, we can automate that spreadsheet to be able to be shared with those people once a week, or just share it and they can access it at their own leisure.
Right. And then it just takes away that stress, and then you just look a little bit more organized with things. Yeah.
Yeah,
So it helps be
right?
organized. Yeah.
Because now I actually know where my receipts are.
Yeah.
So if I don't know where that receipt is anymore, I spilled coffee on it or flew away, or
Yeah.
I'm just not good at holding them, right? Because some people
Or it
aren't.
fades.
It
Sometimes.
fades, right? It
Yeah.
fades. I've bought the scanner and everything, and people are like, I'm going to scan them all.
Yeah.
I'm going to pile them up at the end of the month and scan them
Yeah.
all. Or never happens.
Right.
Everybody says it. If you just take a picture of it, fine. Yes, they have software, a CRM that does it, right? They probably your QuickBooks probably offers that to you,
Mhm.
right? But if you're already not using your QuickBooks, and you already hired your accountant to just be like, you handle the QuickBooks. The stuff will eventually get there by me bringing you this box of receipts for you to put them in QuickBooks. Your accountant is charging you to manually look through that box and put
Yeah.
them in QuickBooks, right?
Mhm.
Now, you can look at it like that in cost savings of I no longer need to pay my accountant the extra 3 hours
Right.
to go through the box and turn it into a digital process for them to put it in QuickBooks. They could take that spreadsheet that we've made and upload it to QuickBooks or link it to QuickBooks themselves.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's good. Money saver is always nice.
Money savers always nice.
Yeah.
Money savers and time savers are what we do. That's our objectives. How do we give you your time back so you can go do the things you love to do,
Right.
whether it's be with your family, do the work you're doing, just be more engaged and present, or how does it help you reduce your costs over time?
Yeah. Now we're going to do this we're going to go back again just so people's clear when they meet with you again.
Okay.
What does the process look when someone starts working with you?
So, first and foremost, we're going to do a discovery process.
Okay.
We hark back to our training with the Luma Institute. So we love to do a walk in your shoes, journey miles, maybe even sketch out, write your customer journey or your journey of whatever you're doing, right? Because it's maybe not even your customers, maybe internally.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the actual process? We need to learn that. We actually want to see it. So give us your manual,
Mm-hmm.
great. Probably going to put it in hopefully a PDF and turn it into a podcast so we can listen to it because I
Mm-hmm.
don't need to necessarily deep dive on your process. I just need an understanding of it. But more importantly, I need to see somebody do it. So we're typically going to ask to come in to see someone do the process and look over their shoulder and not to be judgmental, but we write one thing for processes and we typically actually do something else.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to know what's the written steps that are supposed to be taken, but what are the actual human steps someone takes? And so that's our first thing. So we'll go through discovery to learn. Hey, I see your policy says that you actually do, these are the steps that need to be taken. But I noticed when I was making an observation through your team, these are the actual steps that happen.
Mm-hmm.
There are some discrepancies, but what do you need the computer to actually do? Because it's not a human. It can't interpret the nuance of it. So I need to know where is the nuance? Is where's the nuance in the policy, right? So do you need this filter to be an exact filter or do you need it to be a contained filter? Meaning, an exact filter is going to say, I'm simply going to look for Lee in the name, right? Exactly how you spell it. Versus contains will say, filter anything that starts with LE. Well, that's going to give me a lot more results than your exact name. And so, how do we help you filter those issues out?
Okay. And that's your discovery.
That's our discovery, right? To say, where do we find the nuance in what's the actual items you need done versus what you wrote, right? There's a nuance, and a computer doesn't understand that. So we need to know exactly what you need. So we're trying to, in our discovery, determine, is it a loose fit or is it an exact fit, right?
Okay.
Then we go to the design, because once we've just determined that, we'll do the design of, okay, now we know, hey, this filter can be a contained filter, or it needs to be an exact match filter, or this automation must have this item, right? These are the triggers for this automation. Now we can build it. Then we come back to you with our built item and then say, hey, we need you to test it. Did we actually get it right?
Oh, okay.
Right? If we didn't get it right, we need you to say, actually, our trigger is this. You want too exact, right? We need you to loosen it up, right? And we don't need you to actually say, only if we spell it this way. We want all the variations of the spelling, or we needed to say, there might be some nuance in it, right? I don't know versus unknown, right? Those both things can fit in one bucket, but I've now designed it that it only picks up unknown.
Right.
And in our design and in our testing stage, you would tell us, actually, we need you to open it up. And after testing, you would let us know what works, what's not working, and we would actually make the changes we need till we got to what you needed and implemented it.
And then you still stay on a little bit after, right?
We do.
Okay.
Because like we said, you need the training, and then we also stay on for support service. So if you've gotten automation done with us, we've already built in that we'll be staying on for the next 6 months. So that every at least month, we're going to check in and say, is that automation working right? Did we get reporting on it? We're going to ask for errors. We're just going to check in with the team. Is it actually working for you? Because what you said you wanted automated, 3 months into the automation, you might need to change. Some things might change. Some variables might have changed. So we're just checking in to make sure it's still running. And now we're getting into the good part, right? 3 months in, I like to check in and say, like, so have we even saved you any time? Because if we've checked in and we've done all this, and now you're like, I have 9 extra steps to do when I thought I was going to be reducing my steps, but you've now caused us to have more steps. We haven't done our job. So we actually need to say, let's think about this some more and say, either we didn't get it right, or that's it, we didn't get it right. We either didn't understand your needs, or your needs were different than we all truly understood, right? And so
And you probably find that sometimes.
I find that way more often than anything else is, oh, we need this automated, and then you automate it, and then they're like, no, we actually didn't need that one automated, right? It's like, oh, everybody thinks they want to automate their introduction email. And then they realize 6 months in, they're not getting the feedback, or 3 months in, they're not getting the feedback because it's not customized. It has nothing about that person. It's just, it feels too branded, too stark, too computery, honestly, right? So automating is not about making it just feel computery. It's about reducing your repetitive task. It's about reducing your repetitive tasks. You still want it to feel like I took the time to think about what was written here. So there's always that nice little field to put in to say, like, this is the extra personal touch field to say, like, we've thought about that, right? We don't want everything to say, met you at the local coffee shop. Have a nice, looking forward to following up with you in the next 10 days for you to buy a house in the area. We we know
Yeah.
it's kind of like add that little caveat to say, just like you wrote on the business card,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Bob got a caramel mocha latte, and you're like, okay,
Mhm.
hey, Bob, I hope you enjoyed your caramel mocha latte, right?
Yeah.
Versus like, you just put that in the little personal field, but it goes a long way because now, 6 months down the line, Bob hasn't bought a house yet.
Mhm.
You're like, I'm going to send Bob a caramel macchiato for- or coffee
Yeah.
at the local shop, right?
Right,
So,
right.
like, I remembered I met him at the local shop. I put the little personal note of what he likes to drink. And can I extract that data for my initial email that I automate to him?
Yeah.
And then 6 months down the line, can I automate a little follow up when he doesn't follow up? And so that is something that we often see,
Mhm.
but that's how we also address it is if I just walked away from your automation and it doesn't work,
Right.
it it didn't help you, right?
Right.
So our goal was to reduce your time spent or your money spent. And so 3 months in is when you actually start to actually figure it out, right? To say, oh, you're I'm doing more work when I thought I was going to be doing less work. Or my emails are great. I have like a 50% open rate and it's going great.
Mm.
I wish that I can, add another follow-up email to them because it would be even better. I would get I think I could get better results.
Yeah.
Or, hey, maybe we need to change it up a little bit. It might just be wording, right?
Right.
It could be it feels too stagnant. It could be this is not working. These are not the matrix that we needed, right? This is not telling us the forecasting information that we want.
Yeah. And then also too, when I was thinking about that too, I think sometimes too you might get clients that like are new business owners or and they really don't know how the process is going. You know what I mean? So they're like they're starting it off with you, but they don't really know if what they're saying is something that's going what they're going to like or what's going to work. So do you get that? Is there help for that? Room for that in what you do?
So the person who doesn't know, we want you to go figure it out
Okay.
first. And
Okay.
so we would give you some tools to help you track what you already do.
Okay.
So instead of you spending your money with us and us saying, that's not really working, we'll ask you what's your pain point, right? Is your pain point follow up? Is your pain point getting the information that you need? Is your pain point just centralizing your data, right? We'll try to figure out what's your biggest pain point and then we'll figure out a way to track it over a 90-day period, right?
Mm,
So, hey, you're not you feel like your emails aren't so great. Let's just create a label on your emails to say every time you send an email, add this label to it, right? That's not a large cost for me or you,
mhm,
right? And it's something simple, but then you can see over time, hey, I send this email this often. I probably do want to automate it, right?
mhm,
Or I'm consistently having to deal with this follow up email. Let me flag them in over a 90-day period. We'll be able to extract, okay, we have 200 emails, right? You may have only sent out 30,
mhm,
but you got 200. So, what is the conversation you're now having? How do we optimize that conversation? Is it really an email conversation? Is it, oh, I wish I would have had a better process, right?
mhm,
Maybe I needed a form for them to fill out and they would have been able to provide me all this information in one space, but I didn't know I needed a form. So I now I'm going back and forth through email to
mhm.
keep asking the same questions over time because I didn't have a process yet. I'm new to it. I'm still trying to figure it out. I got an idea of some things,
Right.
not ready to buy a CRM yet. I don't need a spreadsheet yet, or I haven't got a spreadsheet yet. I'm doing this not by paper, but
Mhm.
still not fully into a CRM. So, how can we utilize what you're already doing to figure out what you need to optimize. And where would the best place be? So we try to stop getting people before they have a process in place
Mhm.
so that we can actually have something as a framework because you need a process.
Mhm. Well, I like how you said that too, like maybe for those beginners, instead of just buying stuff or, calling up people and purchasing this or spending money, have that conversation. And like you said, take that 90 days or so to kind of see what that process is and stuff like that. And that's something you can kind of walk them through. And
It's something you can
yeah,
walk them through. We treat it like a food or spending diary,
yeah,
right? When you start meeting with a financial person, they typically say, track all your spending habits for the next 30 to 90 days,
yeah,
and we'll see where you're spending your money at that you don't even realize.
right.
Because what we're trying to figure out is where you're spending your time at in your business that you don't even realize that you can optimize. Like, there's an email template that you could write and you just have to fill in like one spot because you're saying the same thing, or you just need to add that personal note because the framework of this email is the same. You just need that extra, hey, I met you at this location to dial it in. Let's create a template for you. You're not ready for a CRM yet.
Oh, okay. And then just real quick, because we're throwing that word around, just in case someone don't know what that is, the automation. What is
Okay.
that exactly?
Automation is when you utilize technology, typically already existing technology, to do repetitive tasks. So what a person who's going to automate something for you is looking for is a task that you do repetitively that basically has the same items all the time. You may have a variable, maybe two variables that you can pull from somewhere else to automatically put them in or easily add them. And so automation is about optimizing your repetitive tasks so that the computer does it so that you can do something else. Sending your emails, sending that, pulling a report that you want ran weekly and emailing it to you versus you going to your software every week and running the report. Most software now will run the report for you, send it to you on email. And it's one less step you have to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's one less thing you got to think about. It's it's predictive analysis
Mm-hmm.
for your task.
Mm-hmm. And those are great things. And also, what is if someone can't hire you yet, what's one step they should take tomorrow?
Find the email you hate to send and create it as a template. Everybody has an email that they don't want to send, but they have to send it. So maybe not even all the time, but create that email as a template so that it's no longer a barrier for you. We often get stuck at sending emails, right? I don't know what to say. I don't really want to say this. Create an email template. I will say that. That's the best thing I can tell you to do. Every email platform has a template feature, right?
Can you explain that just in case they don't know what the yeah.
Yes. So an email template is drafting an email. So you draft the body of your email saying, dear variable, so
Mhm.
dear blank person, I want to meet with you on, put in a blank space or, to say the date and then the time. And then maybe if you have a link that you're always going to use, right? That's a that's a template, right? It's
Mhm.
the same email all the time. You simply need to change the date, the time, and maybe the location. But all the rest of your contact information is the same. And so a templated email is an email that has standard static information that you can send out quickly, and it's already kind of saved in your drafts. That's what makes it a template. It's already saved in your drafts. All you have to do is add the person's name to it. It already even has the subject line. It has everything ready for you except the date and maybe the time. And so a template is something that is pre-done and you can pull from your system's draft box and it will be ready for you to send by just adding a name to it.
Mm. So start with
Start with that.
that. All right. And then why work with Productivity LLC?
Because our goal is to make you a productive person so that you can harness the technology you have
Mm-hmm.
in order to get your time back. And we are willing to work with you and meet you at your technical capacity and then work so that you can build on that in order to optimize what the technology can do for you.
Okay. And with that being said, this my podcast is Seeking Wisdom Through Real Estate. What's a piece of wisdom that you would like to give the viewers today? Mhm.
Document it, document it. Everything in a business needs to be documented. So document it and harness the technology to let you utilize it to make better decisions for your business.
Hmm, thank you. Yes, documentation is always key. Because not documented, didn't happen.
Because that's all it's doing
Yes,
really is holding your documentation.
right.
And that's really it. It's holding the documentation. And now your job, or you get people like me or your tech support people to turn the data points or the documentation into the information you need to make a decision,
Hmm.
right? The documentation just tells you it was done. Converting it into information tells you what you need to do with it.
Hmm. Okay. Now, Shamara, how can people get a hold of you?
Oh, you can get a hold of us through our website, which is productivityllc.com. In addition, we are on LinkedIn, Productivity LLC, and Twitter, Productivity LLC, and YouTube, Productivity LLC. And we have a newsletter that comes out monthly that talks about automation. We typically pick a project for the year and automate it throughout the whole year so that it starts with each small piece and then builds up at the end of the year.
Well, I appreciate you joining us today. It was exciting, and I'm hoping that I know there's people out there that need help when it comes to organizing their business in a technical way. So I'm hoping that they'll reach out to you for that support, and that also gave us who do have that support at some of our companies and brokerages that we now know that hey, that's something we need to dig into and really see what it does, and maybe watch some of those videos. All righty. So, thank you. So, please subscribe, like, and share this video. Comment and let me know what you think and what would you like to see in future videos. See you next week when we will be seeking more wisdom through real estate. God bless.